CanAm Missing Project copyrighted edition for our video channel. Huck's in the building. She just got done playing ball today. She's tired. She claims she's overworked, wants to get union standards. It's quite a pain. He's a good girl. He's a good girl. And she says, I demand a quiet office without any talk. Okay, there you go. He's a good girl. So, she gets her wish. We go back to missing people, and away we go. So, just so everybody remembers, my name's Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, copyrighted edition for our video channel. And this is a missing person segment, but I should warn you, this is going to be quite different. Quite different. And what do I mean by that? I mean that this isn't going to be your normal everyday edition. We're going to talk about some things that are quite different. And you're going to go, oh, I remember us talking about this before, but whatever happened to the topic? Exactly. So, before we get into the missing person part of it, something I want to tell you guys that's come up in the last, couple days. That is a recent article about something that's near and dear to my heart. First of all, a good friend of mine named Duncan Rhodes, really good guy, owns this magazine called Nexus. I've stated this to you guys before. I think this is one of the best magazines in the world, honestly. And Duncan does a great job. And he had an article in here this month that just came out. And it's pretty stunning. I'm going to read you part of it. It says, Wikipedia, a government information warfare tool, says its co-founder. According to Wikipedia co-founder Larry Sanger, U.S. intelligence has been manipulating the online encyclopedia since 2008. Sanger says he noticed a bias creeping in around 2006, particularly in the areas of science and medicine. Around 2010, he started noticing the articles about Eastern medicine were being changed to reflect blatantly biased positions using dismissive epithets to paint this ancient tradition as quackery. In 2012, evidence also emerged revealing a Wikipedia trustee and Wikipedian in residence were being paid to edit pages on behalf of their clients and secure their placement on Wikipedia's front page in the Did You Know section, which publicizes new expanded articles, a clear violation of Wikipedia rules. It really got over the top between 2013 and 18, Sanger says, and by the time Trump became president, it was almost as bad as it is now. It's amazing, no encyclopedia to my knowledge has ever been as biased as Wikipedia has been. This is their founder, folks. Wikipedia's treatment of all things COVID-19 related is equally skewed. I'm going to bypass that because I don't want to get blocked by our people here on YouTube. It says further, a key feature on Wikipedia that makes it unreliable no matter what you think, and that is the fact that contributing editors are all anonymous. Clearly, the credibility of an author, regardless of the media format, is of importance when trying to determine the veracity of a new topic. Keeping in mind that even experts in the same field will often reach different and perhaps opposing conclusions. Not every expert will have read and evaluated the exact same evidence, for example. It's then up to the reader to make up their mind which one of two or more experts could they believe is more correct, a choice that in turn is dependent on the reader's own prejudices and knowledge base. That said, it should be obvious that no one individual or even group of individuals can be the final arbiter of which expert opinion is the truth. However, that's exactly the position that Wikipedia has inserted itself. They now decide who they think is right and which position is the correct one, and they simply censor the opposing views. Well, what's fascinating about that I never understood is this went back to 2008. And why is that important to me? Because I saw my Wikipedia page get absolutely trashed by someone, told a bunch of lies. And I've had very senior editors of Wikipedia say they don't understand how they can't correct this, but it's like it's protected way beyond what they have ever understood Wikipedia to control. So whatever's going on, I've definitely got the ire of somebody way up there that hates me. So for whatever, that's the reason I want you to be aware of really what Wikipedia is all about these days. Do not trust it. I would recommend don't even click on it. And there's the co-founder saying you can't trust it. So I don't know what else you need. Now we're going to talk about some missing persons cases today. 3 of them, in fact. And if you've been with me for a couple years, then I've talked about this topic before, not these stories before. And this is what truly intrigues me. One of the many things in life. And that is, how are some bodies found, others not, when the person finding the body says that they had a dream? And the dream led them to the body. Let me tell you about a few stories here that we came upon during our research. A man named Gustav Dill, unknown age, went missing October 28th, 1916. Now, Gustav and his wife had recently moved to a place called Duncannon, Pennsylvania. Here's Harrisburg, PA. Right here. Got it. And here's Duncannon. And right through the middle of it all is the Susquehanna River. Now, parts of this area is still very wild. I mean, there's state lands management area right here. All of this is still pretty darn wild. So you kind of get a feeling where we're talking about here. Well, on October 28th, 1916, Gustav went hunting with a couple of his friends. And in the process, they were in their boat trying to cross the Susquehanna. Well, in that process, the boat hit a bad eddy. It turned over. Gustav didn't know how to swim. And he got pulled under, and his buddies saw him go under the water. A couple of guys that were really good swimmers went in, tried to save him. Another person ran into town, got more help, and people with grappling hooks came out. And with hours, there were dozens of people on the banks of the river trying to get Gustav out. Well, the grappling hooks went on for 3 days. They got nothing. Not surprising. But Mrs. Dill was told about it the night it happened. She went to the spot, saw where he went in, fast-flowing river. And Gustav disappeared on October 28th. Now, on November 16th, the same year, Mrs. Dill had a dream about Gustav. Now, she was a brand new resident of this area when they moved in. So she didn't know the area that well. She was a homebody. But she wakes up from the dream and she says, I know where my husband's at. I know where in the river exactly. So she went to a neighbor's house and she gave very minute details about what the bank looked like where Gustav would be found. Well, the neighbor thought they knew exactly where she was talking about. So he got some of the original searchers and he had Mrs. Dill take them to the spot where she thought Gustav was still at. This is quite a ways downstream from where he disappeared. So all of them arrived. Mrs. Dill pointed to a spot in the river and said, he's right there. The second, third throw in, they grabbed the body. Within 5 minutes, Gustav was recovered. Now, what Mrs. Dill didn't explain is who in her mind told her this. She gave an interview saying that she was told this in a dream. Not by anybody specifically, just that she was told this in a dream. Okay? I would find it plausibly impossible, if that's possible, that she could randomly go to this spot on this good-sized river after being missing for 3 weeks and say, my husband's right there, and he is right there. Doesn't seem possible. Seems it'd be a 1,000,000 to 1 shot if it was a pure guess. Just saying. Now, next case. People always ask me, Dave, do you know of any on-duty military people that disappeared? This is about as close as I'm going to get right here. Private's name was Ed Dill. He was 19 years old, went missing May 21st, 1936, from a place called the Kilauea military camp on the Big Island of Hawaii. This is the Big Island. The military camp is still right there, and Hilo's right here. If nobody's been to this, Hawaii Volcanoes National Park is right there. This is big jungle, very rough. Can get very remote very quickly. Well, he was going there for a couple days rest. He had some days off, so he went there. Well, on May 21st, 1936, it was late in the day. It was getting late. And he told some buddies that he was going to go into the woods and look for some sandalwood. So that was about 1 or 2 o'clock. Said he'd be back for dinner. And at dinner time, he didn't return. So several of his friends went out looking for him. They came back very late and said, hey, we can't find him. So they went to the major that ran the military location, and he started calling search and rescue for the next day. May 22nd, they were hoping that he was going to stumble into camp, but he didn't. Well, they had already requested from Volcanoes National Park, their park rangers, and they did respond. And a major named Hugh Gilchrist was in charge of the search. And he got military soldiers that were also in the area to come and assist. And Hugh said that the area that Ed was missing in was very thick, very rough, and pretty dangerous. And they also had a wild boar in the woods there that were known to attack. May 23rd. The rangers that were searching found 3 tracks on a trail near the Keahu Ranch. And they sent several searchers into that area. They searched it for 2 days. They didn't find anything around the ranch. May 24th. An Army plane was requested by the major, and they were dispatched to assist. And the idea behind the plane was, it's so thick in there that they were going to use it at night to just look and see if Ed had built a fire. So what they were going to do is put the plane up at night. The problem they had at the time, and this is in 1936, was if they could get enough torches to light the airfield in Hilo. And they had a heavy fog rolling in at the same time. May 25th, 2 flights flew out of Luke Field to assist on the searchers. And then something happened that I gotta say I've never heard in 1,000 searches. And that is as the search and rescue team were combing this mountain, they stumbled upon a skeleton of a 6-year-old girl. Searchers called police. Police came out and took over the scene. Now, I did a bunch of searching, and I can't find a missing girl. So, I don't know. And I looked and I tried to understand what happened with that case, and I could never find any follow-up. So, not sure what happened with that. But May 26th, Police are working the crime scene with the little girl, and 50 soldiers are now in the mountains. When a cowboy, that's what they call people who work ranches in Hawaii, cowboys, from the Shipman Ranch found tracks leading towards what they believed to be Hilo. Now, many of the cowboys in that area left and all tried to follow the path and lost it quickly. May 27th, more searchers were sent into that Shipman Ranch area. They couldn't find anything. Late on the day on the 27th, they called off the search and rescue, saying that they thought it was futile. Okay. Well, disappeared on the 21st. They give it 6 days. That's not bad. I mean, you'd expect a little more out of the Army, but whatever. Well, one of the searchers that they had used was a state forester who knew this area really well. And his name was L.W. Bryan. Well, Bryan, the night of the 28th, the day after the cancellation of the search, he has a dream. And the dream stated that Private Ed Dill would be found at this one junction that Bryan knew about, and he'd be there tomorrow morning, and you need to get there. Bryan jumped up out of his bed at 4 a.m., went over and woke up his roommates and said, "You won't believe what happened." And he says it was vivid, it was to the point, and he said, "I've got to act on this." So his buddy said, "Okay, we'll go." So at 4:30 in the morning, he and his friends left for a 3-hour hike to the spot that Bryan had seen in the dreams. And he described to his friends where it was, and everyone kind of knew where it was. As they arrive at this spot, Dill walks out of the woods in front of them. Dill was shoeless, stated that he just ate berries and drank rainwater. He was tired and hungry, and he said, "It felt like I just went through hell." That's how tough it was to live out there for 6 days, 7 days. Now, on this one, not only was it finding somebody, it was being at the right place at the right time. And imparting on the person who got the message that it was so important they had to go now. So it wasn't just sending the message, but there had to be urgency to it and get that person out of bed and get them going. See what I'm saying? The impossibilities start to mount up, and you wonder, how can that be happening? Now, the territorial foster, Bryan, stated that he and his friends walked that distance with the specific intention of finding Dill, and his friends backed him up. Still very, very hard to believe. So, there's 3 of these. The next one, is a place I've been to before. Involves a man named James Haggerty. Unknown age, wasn't reported. Happened October 27th, 1928. He lived in a place called Summersville, California. Now, for all you people think you know California geography, tell me where Summersville is, and you have no time to look on your map, no time to look on the computer. You got to say it now. Oh, you're all wrong. It is a little abandoned town in Contra Costa County, California. Used to be a mining town. This is Antioch right here. Summersville's right here. And this is Mount Diablo right here. Right here. Walnut Creek, in a city called Pittsburgh, California. So it's about 6 miles northeast of Mount Diablo. It's a ghost town now, and it's part of what's called East Bay Regional Parks. East Bay Regional Parks, good organization. They have a lot of parks throughout that part of the state, and they're managed really well. Well, the property had coal mines on it at the time. Had a post office that operated from 1863 to 1910. At one point, it had 4 general stores, a hotel. Well, in 1928, things had calmed down quite a bit. Hugh was James's brother. Now, James lived in Somerville. Hugh lived in Antioch. Hugh had just come back from a month trip, but he owned a ranch in Antioch. He checked on the ranch when he got home, asked if anyone had seen his brother. They hadn't, so he went up to his brother's house, talked to some neighbors. Nobody had seen him for days and days. But everyone thought that the last place they did see him was home, and he wasn't going anywhere. So Hugh forced his way into the house. Brother wasn't there. It appeared he hadn't been there for a long time, maybe for the entire month that Hugh was gone. Hugh searched the area of Somerville for 3 days, talked to everybody he could, couldn't figure it out. So he went back to Antioch and he went to bed. September 22nd. November 22nd, 1928. November 22nd, 1928. Hugh had a dream. And he dreamed that his dad came to him and was talking to him. And the exact words his dad said is, "Go to the old Somerville mine, coal mine, look into the tunnel, and there you'll find your brother dead." Wow. Wow. Hugh woke up just like he was stunned that he saw his dad. But he's stunned he saw his dad giving him this message. Now, there was nothing in the paperwork about how long his dad had been dead. But he never had anything like this happen to him. So, told some friends, and he drove back up to Somerville. He knew exactly the mine that his dad was talking about. And he told an interview in the paper that he had to crawl on his hands and knees to get through part of the shaft. But he came around up to a blanket that was wrapped around a figure. And it was James. Now, nearby the blanket was a pistol and a bottle of poison. Hugh left James there, went and called the sheriff, and they had the body removed. The body was described as extremely decomposed, meaning it had been there for quite a while. No urgency there. Body's there, not bothering anybody. But Dad comes and tells Hugh where his brother's at. Does somebody know how much anxiety Hugh must have had, and so his dad had to relieve that? Was there some reason that they couldn't leave a body there? These are all questions I have in my mind. Like, why in some cases is somebody delivered this message, and then in other cases it's not? Now, the obvious implication from the Hugh and James story is that James committed suicide. And pistol there, they found a hole in the roof of the mouth. It goes on and on, but the point of the story really is how Hugh found that body. That's really the point behind all these stories today. And like I said at the beginning, this kind of bothers me. Not in a bad way. Not in a good way. It just kind of, it gnaws at me. Here's why. Is somebody watching us, monitoring us, giving us direction at needed time? Now, at the point where one of these people gets a message, who's sending the message? Who determines it's okay to send the message? Do they need to get any okay to send the message? Who is they? Now, let's think about this. How advanced of a communication system would they have to send us a message to our mind that nobody else will get it, just us? Out of the 330 million people in the United States, only the person who really needed to get it got it. And it didn't go to anybody else. Now, I've talked about psychics and RVers in the past, and many of the Christian folks say, don't listen to psychics. They're bad. Should we listen to RVers, or are they bad too? I don't know. So somebody tells me something in my mind. Should I listen to that, or is that bad too? And then there's something called mind speak. Well, people report that they're alive and awake, and something speaks to them in their mind. Should we listen to that or no? If, as we are meant to believe in religious writings, everyone is equally important to another. We're all God's children. We're all valuable. Then why don't all the missing people have a message sent like the ones I read to you today? Why is there only a chosen few? And it's not a lot. But rest assured, in my mind, I believe every one of them. Because the circumstances of them finding these bodies is just entirely implausible. So again, the soldier was alive. A message sent to the forester. So there is some urgency to that, because they had already given up the search for Ed Deal. So who sent that message to a forester that's not even related to the family? Now, in the case where Hugh is sent the message from his dad, and James is deceased in a mine. Father's dead. James is dead. So in that spiritual realm, is James standing next to his dad as his dad's delivering the message to Hugh? Does James want his brother to find his body? See how complex this gets? I may overthink it, but I don't think so. I want to understand this. Now, is someone in our lives always watching over us? Now, in the ideal world, you like to think your mom and grandpa and grandma are doing that, right? But is somebody watching over us? You know, it's rarely the case, though. This is the part that is complex to me. Somebody's kidnapped, let's say, and a family member has a dream and knows exactly where the kidnapped family member's at. There's urgency, there's need, could be life-saving. Why doesn't somebody dispatch that message? Now, I'm sure it's happened at some time in history, but it's not very normal to get messages like that. As an example, let's say in Gaza right now, it's believed to hold 10 American prisoners. It'd be really great if a deceased grandma or grandpa of one of those would send a message over to the family and say, hey, this is where they're at. Send the military and let's save them. But why only when they're dead is it to find a body? Years ago, I watched a story about a guy who was mountain climbing alone. I'm sure you guys have probably heard of this. I think it was in Arizona or New Mexico. And he's hiking down this thin, almost like a shaft, but it's an area between two mountains. A rock moves, a huge giant boulder pins his arm to the side of the mountain, and he's stuck there. Literally stuck. Can't get his arm out. He eventually ends up cutting his arm off and getting out of there. No, true story. But the point of the story is, he was there for a long time. A long time. People were looking for him. Urgency, life or death, lose a limb. I just can't get past this, that it's only for bodies that these people get these messages. Now, I know it's not. There's stories about people having dreams and finding money. People having dreams and finding a lot of things. But the vast majority of the time, it's finding somebody that's deceased. So, this segment was to give you something to think about. Now, we were researching these for 411 possibilities, and maybe one or two of these could possibly be, but that wasn't the point of this. The point of this is to be a brain exercise for everyone. Let's say you die. Are you going to show up in somebody's dream and if you're lost, and show them where you're at? Okay. If you don't, is your grandma or grandpa going to? And why? What makes your death any more important than the thousands of others who haven't been found in the woods? Now, you can comment on this video, and I'm hoping that there's going to be some pretty good comments. Now, you can write me an email at CanAm, like Canadian American, CanAmMissing@yahoo.com. You could comment right here on this video. On the bottom left, you can write your comment. And you can get our DVD and our hat at our online store. That's NA, like North America, NABigfootsearch.com. And that's the online store. I'll sign the hats if you buy one. Glad to. And in the meantime, be nice to your family. Be nice to your neighbors. Bring goodwill to the community you're in. Thank you for being here. Paulides and lazy producer Huck out.